that you were able to make it onto the call. I know that it's evening for you right now. Is that correct? Yes. Fantastic. Well, thank you. We appreciate you taking the time out of your night to come and spend some time down under with us Aussies and Kiwis here. We so appreciate it. But I feel like there needs to be no real introduction here. Everybody knows who you are, but just in case you've been living under a rock, obviously Justin is our master distributor of doTERRA and has an enormous doTERRA business, but more than that, he understands this business better than probably anybody here, including the compensation plan, which is what we're here to talk about here today. So without further ado, I'd love to turn the time over to you, Justin, to share your words of wisdom with us all. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Melanie. I'm so excited to be with all of you. I so wish we could be doing this in person so we could do more than just virtual hugs, right? Which I'm so grateful. I know, everybody hug. So many familiar faces here, and I just get emotional even looking at all of you beautiful people. We will hug again soon, and it will be glorious and wonderful. So I'm grateful we have the technology that we have to be able to do this, right? This is kind of become the new norm the last few weeks, as Zoom has been our life. In fact, yesterday I was on Zoom for 8 hours between all the different meetings and conferences, and that was a record for me for that many hours in one day, but it got the job done. And today we've had several hours as well. And just so excited to be with all of you and spend a few minutes of your morning. Saturday, it's Thursday morning there, right? Yeah. So have an awesome day today. I hope that it's great, and that you're all healthy and well. And it's been interesting as I've been in pretty constant, at least weekly communication with the owners of doTERRA, and on a very regular basis. 4 hours yesterday with all the owners of doTERRA and some of the other leaders here, just discussing things that are coming. And it's really reassuring and gratifying to know that doTERRA as a company is not just positioned to survive this global challenge, but thrive in it. So many companies in our space, in our profession, in direct sales, network marketing, cannot survive financially 1 or 2 months of bad sales consecutively in a row, right? They just don't have the stability or the cash flow, or they have too much debt, whatever the situation is. And so many, in fact, some of my friends in the profession, inside and outside of doTERRA, are predicting that we'll probably see quite a few companies in our profession vanish from business. They'll go out of business in the next few months, just because of that instability that they have. And how grateful are we that that is not the case here, that is very much the opposite, in fact. So we are positioned not only to survive this, but to thrive it, to thrive through it. And you're gonna see some amazing things coming your way. It's super, super exciting. It's obvious to say, of course, that people need the oils, right? More than ever. The world needs what we have. We all know the benefit. All of you on this call are diamonds and above. We don't have to worry about compliance, and speaking with all of you. But we know we have solutions to help people either not get this bug or recover from it very quickly if they do, and to protect our families. Quite honestly, I've not had any fear of this virus at all. My greatest fear was school being closed and my children being sent home, which is exactly what happened. And those of you that may not know, I have nine. Oh my gosh, I have 9 sons. I'm used to saying 8 because one of them has been in Brazil. He's sitting across from me right now. So we have 9 sons, ages 19 to 9 months, and 6 of them in school. So we have 6 sons that are homeschooling now. And Why does a second grader need 4 hours of homework? I just don't understand this. It just, we're pretty much to the point where we're going to declare summer break early and just be done with the whole mess, because trying to homeschool 6 children at once is, let's just say there's not enough lavender and serenity and adaptive oil in the whole world to make this work for me. And so we have, that's a great comment. Yes, you should feel better. It's been an amazing last few weeks. And so the world needs what we have, right? The world needs what we have. And they also, of course, are going to be needing income as jobs are lost and people are furloughed. It reminds me very much of the years that doTERRA started. Those of you that, there's a few of you I see on here that were with us back then in those early years, but probably most of you were not. And back in 2008 when we started, in fact, today is, well, I guess for you all, it's the 16th of April. It's still the 15th there. But the 25th of April, coming up in a few days, will be our 12-year anniversary since doTERRA began, right? 12 years since we placed our very first order and actually received oils, and we're able to really kick off and get things going. And so back then in April of 2008 was right in the peak of the recession, the global recession, the housing market collapse, all of that good stuff. And we were kind of in a similar space to where we're headed now, different causes, of course. It wasn't anything biological. And it was huge opportunity because people were hungry. And when people are hungry, they're looking for ways to supplement and increase their income. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir here, and you all know this, but I just wanted to point out that we be mindful of the amount of people that are in that looking space because they are hungry, and because necessity has dictated that they be looking, right? Whether to replace their job or just their hours have been cut or their income has been reduced in some way, and that we be mindful of that and not necessarily be opportunistic. I'm not saying that at all, but be open and be ready. And it's interesting, I was chatting the other day with some of our very top leaders on a call, some of them double presidential, double blues, and just kind of sharing ideas. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What's working? What's not working? Because we currently can't do what we've always done, right? We can't get people together in a room or a hotel room or a living room and slather oils on them. And you all know when we do that, the battle's over, right? I mean, we've won. They just can't say no, and it's a done deal. Well, until the technology comes about where I can email Paul or John or Deanne or any of you, if I can't email you a lavender sample. How cool would that be, right? That would be awesome, but that technology isn't there yet. It'd be awesome if doTERRA would do it. And so we're having to learn to build differently right now. And we will get back to the hands-on stuff that's always worked, tried and true. We'll get back to that at some point, hopefully soon. But in chatting with these leaders, back to that call, something really profound was said. And that was this. One of our very top leaders said, everyone is home. Just pick up the phone and call, right? They're all home and they're starving for human connection. They're starving for conversation. And of course you could do that. You could do that over Zoom as well, like this. That's even better because then you can see each other, right? Or over Skype or whatever media you want to use. But she had literally made over 100 phone calls that month, in this last month, to people on her contact list, friends, family, associates, many of whom were not really open in the past, but now are open because of all the recent happenings, right? And so it's just, and she has people coming in all over and they're willing to learn and they're willing to try products because life has changed, situations have changed. And so my message to all of you as leaders in Australia and New Zealand, and really all of our leaders worldwide, is let's not forget to just pick up the phone, right? Pick up the phone, and I guess you all call it ring someone. I say call someone, you say ring someone, ring them up, right? And see how they're doing, and ask them sincerely how they're doing emotionally, physically. How's the family? How are the children? And be genuinely concerned for their well-being first. This is not a sales call. Be genuinely concerned. And should issues come up that we can offer a solution for, well, then by all means, we're obligated to do so, right? Because that is the nature of what we're doing. So guys, we're in a good space. Last month was one of our best months ever as a company, and this month is humming along nicely. And congratulations, by the way. I see that all of you had an amazing month last month. And so well done. Keep it up. It's going to be an interesting next few weeks and few months, but I certainly don't think demands are going to decrease. In fact, I don't know if you're all seeing this there. I assume that you are, but we're definitely seeing this here. Yes, the virus is one thing, and job loss is there, but the levels of anxiety and stress are just going nuclear. They're just going off the charts. I mean, it was already a problem before, right? Already a problem before. That look at the number of people medicating for anxiety or stress. It's a huge number, and that was before this whole coronavirus thing, right? And so now with this all happening and everything that's going on, those levels have gone even higher. And my friends, we have phenomenal solutions for stress and anxiety, and not just one. We have multiple, right? We have a variety of different options for people, and we don't even have to look out. We don't have to leave our town or our street or our neighborhood to find, maybe not even our own house, to find people that need what we have to help them with this stress and anxiety that's been dumped on the world. So I think we have a lot of work to do. I actually, it's funny, there's a lot of people here bored to death. They're just bored. It's like they're buying puzzles. There's a local manufacturer of puzzles that their sales have increased, not double, not triple. They've gone up 70 times, 70, normal, selling puzzles, okay? Because people are just sitting in their house and they're bored. And I'm looking at that, I'm busier than before the virus. And so I don't know what these people are doing, but they're sitting in their house putting together puzzles, and they need to hear from a doTERRA person so we can help them have a little more purpose in their daily life, right? So anyway, I'll get off that soapbox. Okay, let's switch gears and talk numbers. I am going to share my screen. Let's see if I can make this work. All right. And let's see here. Love all your comments, by the way, in the comment box, and feel free to drop in any at any time. All right, there we go. Okay, actually, I won't be able to see the comment box while we're in screen share mode, but that's fine. We'll get back to it. So what I'm going to give, first off, I'm going to give all of you a link, or I'll give it to Melanie after the call's over. I'm going to give you all a link to this PowerPoint so you can download it and have it, use it to your heart's content. And I want to just share, I'm going to share some of what I would with a newer person when I'm teaching the comp plan, but we're going to go a little more in depth than I normally would, right? Because of the audience this evening. And you can take this and use as much or as little of this as you like, but this is what's working for us. And I just want to share our numbers, right? And our potential. And some of this will move over quicker because you all obviously have a great understanding of this. So this is my Compensation 101 training. And it is specific to the US, guys. Sorry, I didn't have opportunity to switch over dollars to Aussie dollars and whatnot. But again, you can do that if you want to make those changes in the actual PowerPoint itself. Okay, so start out by talking about enrollment type, wellness advocate versus customer, wholesale customer, and that setup. And I think maybe there you guys still do IPCs, right? Independent product consultants. Is that the case, or no? Have you switched back? Have you switched over to wellness or to wholesale customers? Oh, nice. Okay, perfect. So start out having that discussion of what the difference is, jumping right into the definition of what an enroller is and what a sponsor is. And visually, to me, this is the best way to teach this. And I do teach this even in the beginning so that people are clear on what that means. And in this scenario that you see on the screen, obviously, and this is a real life scenario, actually. I did enroll Teresa. Many of you know Teresa Harding. And I enrolled her and sponsored her right on my front line. And this is generally going to be the case for most people as they're getting started. They're going to be both the enroller and the sponsor. But in this next example, and this was a real life example as well, I met a woman named Amanda. And Amanda actually lived in the same city, very near Teresa. And I thought they would work well together. So even though I introduced Amanda to doTERRA, I enrolled her into doTERRA, I chose to sponsor her on Teresa's front line for various reasons. And you all know that those reasons can be many. In this case, it was for greater support. I like to substitute the word sponsor at times for placement, where they actually are physically located within your team. I also have another analogy that I use for enroller, and that is not to be too visual, but the enroller is the person that birthed them into doTERRA. They brought them in, right? They introduced them to our world, to our community. And for whatever reason, they chose to place them or adopt them. See, I have lots of kids, so I have to use like kid analogies, right? They put them up for adoption and sponsored them with a different parent, which in this case would be Teresa. So making sure enroller and sponsor are clear is important for later discussions in the compensation plan, right? So I do like to make that understood right up front. Okay, so let's jump into numbers. Not spending time on this one really because most people don't do it. There is a retail markup. We do have to offer retail. It's actually a legal issue. There has to be a suggested retail price, and it is suggested. People can really actually sell the product for whatever price they would like, but the suggested retail markup is 25%. This can happen either virtually online, someone shopping at your web store, or someone in person buying the product from you. You can choose to purchase or sell the product at 25% above wholesale. People ask me all the time if I charge first-timers retail, and I do not. I will let anyone buy from me one time. This is just my own personal thing. You don't have to do this, but I will let people buy from me one time from me at my price, at wholesale price. And I choose to do that because I want them on the product, right? That's more important to me than anything. However, should they come back, when they come back for their next order of whatever they'd like, then we do have the discussion that they need to set up their own account to get that price, or I do have to charge them retail. So again, that's what I do. It's worked beautifully because it moves people into enrolling and setting up their own membership, which is exactly what we want, right? To get them in that space. So friends don't let friends buy retail. Just keep it at that. We want to bring them into that wholesale world as quick as possible. Okay, fast start. Again, I realize I'm preaching to a bunch of people that all know this, but just so you see how I teach it, it's a very simple illustration. This is based on new people as they are enrolled. For their first 60 days of being a member of doTERRA, anything they purchase will pay a 20, 10, and 5%, so 35% total, to the 3 enrollers immediately above them. So in this scenario, if I enroll John and John comes in and whatever he purchases, I'm going to order 20% from John's order, all of his orders for the first 60 days. 20% off the top is going to come right to me. Whoever enrolled me is going to get 10%. Whoever enrolled them is going to get 5%. What I love about that is now moving forward, I'm super motivated to support John because John, anyone he enrolls, right, he's going to get the 20% and I'm going to get 10. So I'm highly motivated to support him in his enrollment activities as he's getting going. And so this Fast Start is paid every single week. It's calculated on Mondays and paid on Wednesdays for the prior week. And so you have a really good pulse, by the way, on the growth of on the new activity going on in your business and your team. Fast Start is a great way to know, what's going on because it is paid weekly. So you have a good idea of what kind of new people, how many new people are coming into your business each week for the prior week through the Fast Start. So it's a great measurement of growth of new growth, right? New enrollments in your team. So paid on the first 60 days, and then it switches over to the unilevel, which we'll get to here in a second. Loyalty rewards. Man, this is a big one, guys. We got to make sure our people realize that if they're not on loyalty rewards, they miss this bonus. I can't tell you how many people I have seen miss Fast Start because they either were ordering, but it wasn't on LRP, or they weren't doing LRP at all, or weren't getting close enough to 100, or the most painful are when we see an order of 95 and it's like, oh man, just 5 more and you would be there and qualify for that. So we just need to make sure it's our responsibility as leaders to make sure and educate our new people, because the hardest thing is when someone new gets started and right away they enroll someone else, maybe even the same day, and they miss out on their Fast Start because we didn't teach them that they needed to get in and get their templates set up so that they would capture that money. And then that's on us, right? That's not on them. They're new, they have no idea. So that's on us, and we have to fix that if that happens. So make sure that people are being educated there. Okay, so that's our weekly. Let's talk Power of 3. So in the very beginning, let's just go. I want to go back in time really quick. So, oh gosh, 12 years and 4 months ago would be almost exactly the timing. We sat around a conference table. When I say we, myself, Dave Sterling, Greg Cook, Dr. Hill, Emily Wright, Rob Young was not on the scene yet, nor Mark Wolfert, nor Corey Lindley. Those guys were still coming in the future. And we sat around a conference table and killed ourselves for, I think, weeks, actually, looking at all the different compensation plans that were out there and what was hot and what was popular. And back then, binaries were really popular and all these kind of hybrid compensation plans doing all these funky things. And I had some ideas of my own. I had actually written several compensation plans prior to this experience and had even sold one of them to another company that needed a compensation plan developed for them. And so I thought I had like these amazing ideas, right? Like, okay, this is what doTERRA needs, and let's do this and let's do that. And we sat around this huge table with all these compensation plans laid out, trying to determine what was going to be best. And I will admit that I did have a little voice in the back of my head saying, this is how you're going to get paid, so better pay attention. Right? So I cannot deny that voice wasn't there saying, hey buddy, this is how you're getting compensated, so we got to make this awesome. And I will tell you that I had some ideas that I thought were going to be like just amazing, and we did not do them. We did not do them because Dave Sterling literally turned to us, and said, if it is not something that is proven to be successful, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. And I was sad at the time, but grateful. And it actually has turned out to be a huge blessing because it's created some great stability for us as a company. So obviously Fast Start was one of those. Power of 3 or bonuses similar to Power of 3 in structure was, of course, one of those, as well as the unilevel and the bonus pools. So, excuse me. I'm parched. Talking too fast here. All right, so you're all familiar with this. Now, I do want to point out the structure for Power of Three. Actually, I'll come back to that. Because I want to show the whole picture first. And you've all seen this, but what is critical to me in teaching this to our people is this first slide. Okay, that pod, if you will. My wife calls this me plus three. Now we know you need only three people that are on LRP of at least 100 plus yourself. It's helpful to have four. You only need three, have more. It's great. Between you and all frontline members, you got to have the 600 in team volume, right? So that's why we often teach having 150 points per person, and then you get your 600 in team volume. So this is the key to the whole thing, is doing this and teaching this, okay? If you first do it yourself, and $50 is not a lot of money, okay? It's not a lot of money. It's not going to change anyone's life or anyone's world, but it is the key to this entire structure, to this entire program, is doing this first yourself and then teaching it. Because if you're not doing it and you're teaching it, then it's hypocritical, right? So do it, right? Do it first, do the 50, then teach the 50. And as you know, if you're teaching it, it's going to duplicate, right? It's going to duplicate. So then when your 3 leaders have earned their 50, then your bonus becomes 250, okay? And this is generally where light bulbs start to turn on. This is generally where husbands start to wake up. And sorry, guys, I know I'm throwing us under the bus a little bit, but many men often look at their wives' doTERRA business, because 80% of our builders in doTERRA are women primarily. And a lot of the husbands and men in their lives look at this as, a family expenditure, my wife's oil habit or whatever it is. But once they're getting this bonus and this is coming in on a monthly basis, plus of course they've got their other fast starts and their regular commissions, right? So it's going to be more than the 250 in total. But this is where it starts to wake people up. I can't tell you the number of spouses and partners that I've seen change their behavior totally towards the business once this is locked in. But again, the key is going back to this. It's do the 50, teach the 50, do the 50, teach the 50. So when your front 3 have their 50, we're at the 250, right? And then following the pattern that you're already familiar with, when they're earning their 250, then your bonus becomes 1,500. So this is one thing that I really like to stress here when we show this to people, because some people go, well, that's 40. If you add it all up, it's 40 people. And people immediately think, well, man, I got to enroll 40 people. That's going to be so hard, and that's going to be a lot of work. And could someone go and do that? Yes, they could. But that is not what this is meant to do, right? This is meant to be a team working together. And oh, by the way, and I know we haven't talked about ranks yet, but we will, and you all know this already, but notice what structure is in place here. How many legs do we have? 3, right? So this is on purpose. This was not a coincidence. In the very beginning, when all of this was laid out on those tables and all put together, this was very much intentionally created to help someone structure properly to be able to rank to silver. And so when people are focusing on this bonus, in fact, very often people hit the rank of silver in pursuit of this bonus. And again, that was on purpose, okay? That was not just a coincidence. And so do the 50, teach the 50, allow it to duplicate. A great way to really cement this is by tying in your LRP orders with the monthly consumables, right? Like Life on Vitality or other products that are more highly in demand and more consumable. And for most of us on the call, we have a lot of oils that fit that category. But until people figure out what they're doing with the oils, it might be more along the supplement line that they're going to complete their monthly order, right? So whatever it needs to be, whatever is the top benefit for them, that's where we should look. So I'm going to pause Power of 3 talk for just a second, but we're going to come back to it because I am going to administer a test to everyone in the group tonight. But before we can do the test, we have to talk about this number. Do any of you know what number this is? Now, this is the funny part. where someone in the class always raises their hand and says 34%. You're right. This number is 34%. That's not the question, or that's not the answer. Maybe I've asked the question poorly. So this is the combined percentages in the unilevel, right? So the unilevel that you're all familiar with, the 2, 3, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, that is our residual income. Now, I love how this cartoon is depicted. And as you look at this sketch, this drawing, and you see that the person on the left is pointing out that there are 4, I guess, what do you call those? Logs, 2x4s, whatever. There are 4. And the person on the right says, no, there's 3. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So who's right? They both are. They're both right. It's all about perspective. And so what I want to highlight in this next few minutes is perspective, particularly with the unilevel, and then we're going to bring it back to the power of 3 as well. So you've all seen this. You're familiar with our unilevel program, the 2, 3, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7. To me, most of us, when we look at these numbers, because of how it's laid out on paper, we generally look down. So here's a great visual for you to look down, right? We look at the numbers and they're going down into our teams, right? And we see that the greater depth we have, the more we're compensated. And I super appreciate that fact that those bigger numbers are on the bottom, right? Because most companies don't work like that. They actually work the opposite. But so we usually look down, just like in this picture. But to really understand the unilevel, we actually need to look up. Okay, we actually need to look up, not down, and look at it from the point of view of the order. So if I have an order that's placed, thank heavens we have supercomputers that do all this math for us, because man, it would be a nightmare if we had to try and do it ourselves. So what happens as the order is compressed, as the volume is dynamically compressed up through the upline, through the organization, is the computer literally says, okay, I've got to pay 2% on this order to someone. Who is it? And then it finds that person, probably the person directly above them, and pays them the 2%. And then it says, okay, I got to pay the 3% to the first person qualified for that. Who is it? And it does that. And then it goes to the 5s and 6s and 7s, right? And so it takes that order and pays it all the way up the line until all the commissions have been paid. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of dynamic compression here in a second. And typically, well, never, never in an introductory class do I give examples of dynamic compression. Don't do it. Okay, we're going to do that this morning with all of you, but in an intro session, in the first time teaching the comp plan, don't go there, because the confused mind says no. So save that discussion for when they're ready. And it could be possible that they're ready that first time, but generally that's not the case. And so you might want to save that one for later. But we'll go through those examples here in a second. So we obviously talked about getting to silver and then getting to diamond, and this domino effect, right, of building elites, focusing on elite. Because an elite, the 3,000 in organizational volume, doesn't matter where it is, no leg requirements, no number of people required. It's just pure raw sales, right? 3,000 in the group, could be split between a few people, could be split between dozens or hundreds of people. It doesn't matter, right? As long as it's over 3,000. When we have 3 of those, we've got a silver. And when we have 4 silvers, we have a diamond, right? And diamond or above is where all of you are. And we know that that's where it starts to get super fun, right? Financially, as well as the gratification and inspiration of being able to help support your team members. So before I go into the unilevel examples of dynamic compression, we're going to have an IQ test. And this is my own self-administered IQ test. because this is what I like to refer to as Justin's aha moment that I had a number of years ago that changed my whole focus and structure, and it changed my business, right? And it was just sitting down and doing some math. And so my aha moment was this. If we take the structure for the power of 3 and we draw that out, and of course we all know it's never going to be perfect, right? We all know that. No one's going to have 3 that perfectly have 3 that perfectly have 3, because some people are going to bring 4 or 5 or 6, and some people are going to bring none. And so we realize that it will never look exactly like this, but somewhere in there, if that structure is there, and if everyone's doing an average of 150 PV, which again is an average, some will do more, some will do less. When you do the math on that, that's 6,000 PV to generate the $1,500 bonus, 1,500 power of 3 bonus. Okay, everybody good there on that math? You got that one? So check. Okay, now here's the next step. If we look at the unilevel and look at all of those beautiful percentages, the 2, 3, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, and we just drop the highs and lows, right? Drop the 2s and 3s, drop the 6 and 7s, and just go with the 5% as an average, just for easy math. How much sales, I'll ask my 19-year-old college student sitting here in front of me, how much sales would I need to make? Here's your word math problem for the day. Earning 5%, how much sales do I need to have to generate $1,500?
Quite a bit. Quite a lot.
His answer was quite a bit. Nice try.
Hey, I'm not a calculator.
You should be able to do this one in your head. Come on. Okay, there's a number. 30,000. So you need 30,000 PV, earning an average of 5% to generate that same $1,500 bonus. Okay. Now, here was the aha moment for me. 6,000 PV versus 30,000 PV. Same bonus amount. Where should I focus my time? Right? Now I'm talking for newer builders. I'm talking for people that are just getting going. I'm not talking for you guys as diamonds and above, right? You're in a different scenario. But for those that are getting going in their business, even if they've been with doTERRA for years, but they're just trying to ramp up their business, would it not make sense to focus on the 6,000 and get that bonus solidified and then build on to the 30,000? Now, the great thing about this is we don't have to choose, right? We actually get paid both. It's like when people ask, you know, do you build wide or do you build deep? And the answer is yes. Okay, the answer is yes, because it's like walking and chewing gum. Can you do both at the same time? Yes. And that is absolutely critical. And we have seen, guys, worldwide, this scenario play out in helping those young builders have enough financial stability to make it long-term as a leader financially, to not have to run off and find some other way of making money or some other income, because they've got enough coming in to sustain themselves and sustain their business activities, their business building activities, because they've locked up that bonus. So I cannot endorse enough having that as a focus. We actually earn in our position, member 1001, we actually earn the power of 3 bonus, the $1,500 bonus, 3 times. Okay, we have 3 complete power of 3 structure bonuses, paying us $4,500 a month just from that bonus. And so I'm not saying you need to go out and do that, but definitely lock up 1 for sure. And as you're building on to presidential, you need 6 legs. Well, that lets you do this bonus twice, right? If all 6 of your qualifiers for presidential are earning the 250 bonus, then, or at least if they're on your front line, that is, they don't necessarily have to be a qualifier, but then they're gonna pay you that $1,500 bonus twice. So food for thought on that one. Okay. All right. Another interesting factoid of our top 500 earners as we looked over the field, we have noticed that over 2/3 of their income is from the unilevel. Okay. So fast start and power of 3 is the stopgap. It's the transition money. It's the survival money. right? Because you all know that the unilevel takes time. Is the unilevel the majority of your income later? Yes. Okay, you all know that, because for all of you as diamonds and above, your unilevel is most of your check, right? So we all know this. But for those younger leaders, man, it's tough. Okay, unilevel's tough in the beginning, and we're very open and honest about that. This takes time. This is the long-term residual, but it is exactly that. It is the residual income, and because the company does dynamic compression, we are able to really maximize our payout from that. And so what is dynamic compression? It is the system that pays the unilevel. These are the sweet, simple definitions. It compresses until all 7 levels are paid to someone. It is compressed based on qualifying rank that is achieved that month. In past experiences, years and years ago, there was a misunderstanding or misconception that the unilevel was compressed at a PV amount, like at 50 PV or 100 PV. It is actually compressed based on rank, right? Based on rank. And again, the computer will take an order and identify who qualifies. So let's just, really the best way to teach this is through example, right? So here we have a very simple gold leg, just dropping down in depth quite a few levels. And down here at the very bottom, we have a wholesale customer.
All right, Remy can be the big sister.
Hi, Courtney, we can hear you. You're unmuted. We'd love to hear you, but there you go. Thanks. So on the bottom, we have the wholesale customer who places their 100 PV order. And then the computer is going to look upline and say, who should I pay? So the wellness advocate that's qualified as a wellness advocate right there above the customer is going to get the 2%. The computer is going to take everyone that didn't qualify at any rank and just block them out of sorts, almost like they're not even there for that particular month. And then it's going to pay out the levels like you see here, right? So that 7% is going to go all the way up to that gold, which is 12 levels above the customer. Even though it's the 7-level payout, it's actually all the way up on level 12, right? And that's because those other 5 people that are in the gray boxes now did not qualify at a rank or at a rank high enough to be able to earn any of those percentages. So here's another example. This one's a gold leg as well. You can see that there's more qualified people close to the customer. So you've got the payout is going to be the 2, 3, 5, 5, 6, 6. But then that 7% only pays out to silvers and above, right? And there is no silver until we get up to that gold that's up there. Sorry. And so that gold way up there on, what is that, level 10 is actually going to pick up the 7%. Okay. So it's so much simpler, again, to understand this when you're looking at it from the viewpoint of the order, right? So another example, we'll do just 2 more. Order down there on the bottom, we've got quite a few qualified people in the first 5 levels. Then look at level 7, there's an elite, right? They're qualified as an elite, but an elite only gets paid down 5 levels in the unilevel. And so they're not getting enough depth and payout to actually be paid on that order down there from that wholesale customer. And so while that elite on level 7 is qualified as an elite, they're not qualified. They don't have the depth. They would need to be at a higher rank. Okay. So we'll take out those that aren't qualified, and you can see how that's giving the silver, and then a few levels up, the diamond that's way up there, that's 7%. All right, final example, and this one is a little bit scarier to look at just because it's bigger, but we wanted to do one in greater depth. So again, customer order there on the very bottom, paying to the wellness advocate, and then we have some hit and miss qualifiers throughout, but notice the first silver and diamond qualified to earn commissions are way up on levels 9 and 15. And so as that compresses up, it's gonna, again, skip all those people that weren't qualified at a high enough rank to earn a commission on that order. and receive that that payout, right? That percentage. And so that diamond who's on level 15, way up there, is actually going to pick up 7% on that order that's from that customer. Okay. Does that make sense? I hope that it does as you look at it. You can actually see again, oh, this is my slide to tell people, thank heavens for supercomputers. Because man, yeah, you can go into your back office at any time, and you've all done this. You can go in and look at your commission breakdown. And this is an actual snippet of some of my team members. And you can see on the right, I blotted out their PV amounts and part of their names and part of their member numbers just to protect the innocent. But you can see that it shows the level on the right, the second from the right column. And then the paid level is what level they were actually compensated, you were compensated on. And many times it's the same, right? And you can see there's a bunch of those. But if you look, for example, over in the bottom right corner, you can see a few people that were actually physically located on the 9th level, but were paid as a 7 level, right? As the percentage on the 7 level, the 7%. And up at the top, you have 2 people that were on the 10th level that had compressed up to the 7th level. And so for those that really want to get into the nitty gritty, you can go in and look at, you know, an organization and see who was paid on what percentage or on what level. So again, I normally would not go that in depth with newbies, but for those that are asking the right questions or are ready for that discussion, it's a great place to take them and to realize that this is all for our benefit. This whole dynamic compression thing is a huge win, 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 win for us. In fact, in the early days, many of you know Lil Shepherd. Some of you I see on here are on her team, and we love Lil. She is like the mother of doTERRA, right? She is amazing. And in the early days, she received a commission check, and it was way bigger than she expected. In fact, she brought it to me and showed it to me, and I thought, well, wow, that's nice. And she's like, no, I think it's broken. It's paid me too much. And she's like, I'm taking this to Dave Sterling because this is just not right. It's paid me too much. And I'm thinking to myself, just cash the check, Lil. Shame on me, right? But like, just cash the check. And she's like, no, I'm taking this to Dave and we're going to go figure this out. So we all went in together. And what had happened is she had an entire team that went very, very deep. Actually, it was kind of like an oil rig, and it just went deep, deep, deep. And she opened up a lot of volume in some of those deep levels, and she earned the 7% on all of those. And so she was getting a 2, 3, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, and it went down for a long time. And so none of us understood dynamic compression at that point. In fact, not even Dave Sterling, not Emily. We all discovered it together on that same day. We didn't even know it was part of how our commission plan was programmed, but that is how it was programmed. And it was such a blessing because it does maximize our payout as far as the unilevel goes. And that's a competitive advantage for all of us as we're sharing our business with others to make sure people know that we're getting maximized that way. So unilevel is long-term residual. Power of 3 Fast Start is that growth money that is so critical to keep people in the game until the unilevel can take over. Final way we're compensated is the leadership pools. Man, I love this because people still say to me, I wish I could have gotten doTERRA in the beginning. Do any of you hear that ever? Rani, do you hear that? I bet you do. I wish I could have got in with you in the very beginning. And my response is always, no, you don't. No, you don't. There was a lot of pain in the beginning and a lot of frustration and a lot of growing pains. And oh man, it was crazy. And so it really is, even being a 12-year-old company, I strongly feel that we are just now moving into our true momentum phase. even with all the crazy going on. You might call it doTERRA 2.0, if you will. And what's great about the leadership pools is it gives people coming in right now, getting started right now, it gives them the opportunity to cash in on the growth of the whole company worldwide, right? Even people that are not in their team, they get to share in the benefit, right? So this first 1% is the empowerment bonus, which is shared with premiers and silvers. And how this works is it's basically, this is the only one of all the leadership bonuses that does require something. First, you must qualify as a premier or a silver, right? Obviously, but you must also have a personal enrollment that month of at least 100 PV, okay? And if you have a personal enrollment that month of 100 PV, then you get 1 share of that empowerment pool. So that's 1% of the company. So for easy math, let's say that the company did $100 million globally last month. 100 million. So what's 1% of 100 million? It's a million, right? And so what that would mean is the company is literally going to take $1 million and split it with all the premiers and silvers around the world that had an enrollment that month of 100 PV. Okay, this is insane. Because that dollar amount, as probably many of you know, now none of us on this call earn this bonus. Okay, we don't get this one because it's only for premiers and silvers. So as a diamond and above, you're not earning this, but you have silvers and premiers that are earning this. And it typically ranges between 200, 220, 230 US dollars is where that bonus has been falling of late. And so this is what's crazy about it. If I'm a premier, and you all know that premiers and silvers don't make a ton of money yet. If I'm a premier and I enroll my cousin who does 100 PV order, I'm going to get 20% fast start on that. So I'm going to get $20. Plus I'm going to get a share of the empowerment pool, which is typically over $200, $220, $230, somewhere in there. So basically between the pool and the fast start, I'm going to get about $250 off of a 100 PV sale. Okay, that's how crazy this is, right? The amazing. And so for those that are premiers and silvers, this is like critical, man. You got to have that monthly enrollment to capture that bonus because that is a great return. And that's the company investing in them to stay in the game, right, and move their business forward. So that's the empowerment bonus. Then we have the leadership bonus, leadership performance pools for silver, golds, and platinums. This one's 2%. So every month the company takes 2% and splits it between silvers, golds, and platinums. So silvers are getting 1 share of that 2%, golds are getting 5, platinums are getting 10. And then the 1+ that you see under each one, if in that particular month you had a personally enrolled member achieve the rank of elite for the first time that month, then you will get an extra share of that pool, okay? Typically this share value ranges around $150. Last I checked, somewhere in there. So if you're a silver, you're getting 150. If you're a gold, you're getting 5 times that. So what is that, about 750, somewhere in there? And if you're platinum, you're getting 10 times that, so about 1,500, just for being at that rank, right? Just as a thank you for being at that rank. And then, excuse me. And then I am well prepared, by the way. Do you all see that? Oh, chocolate and lozenges. So I'm good to go. Anyhow, I can pick up extra shares by having a personally enrolled elite like we talked about. Now, you all are really familiar with this one because it affects you. This is the diamond pools, right? This is 4% of the company's global revenue each month. And they take 1% and split that between all diamonds and above. That's the top pool that you see there. So if you're a diamond, you get 1 share of that 1%. If you're blue, you get 2. If you're presidential, you get 3. And then you can get extra shares of that as well. If you have, for diamonds and blue diamonds to get an extra share, you have to have a new first-time personally enrolled premier. And then if you're presidential, it has to be a first-time silver. Okay, is for the extra presidential share, and the reason for that is it's just a lot more money, and so it's a huge thing. And then down below you see that the diamonds, blues, and presidentials all have their own pools, which is the greatest blessing. Diamonds have their own pool, blues have their own, presidentials have their own, and so just for being at that rank, you get 3 shares of that pool, and then you can again grab an extra share by having first-time person enrolled premiers or silvers in the case of presidential, okay? And these pools are pretty fun money. The diamond pools combined are typically 4,000 to 5,000. The blue pools will range 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. Again, you all know this, it's different every month depending on volume, depending on sales. Excuse me. The presidential pool typically will range around 22, 25, 28,000 for the month. Again, just depending on the month. And so super exciting numbers. Okay, when you wrap all of this together, and I don't know how well you can see this on your screen. This is something we can email you as well. But I appreciate these next 2 slides because they represent the time to rank and average incomes, right? Starting at the rank of elite. So you have the weekly time spent to reach that rank, and this is based on doTERRA's own research. The amount of time it took to reach that rank in total, right? The weekly time spent to maintain that rank, that's very interesting, right? Because as you know, there is maintenance involved. The average monthly income, and then the expected income when they're new. And I'm so grateful for that column in particular, because when someone is new, hitting a rank for the first time, for example, let's just jump over to Diamond. If you look at Diamond, the average monthly income is $17,000 a month for the rank of Diamond, which is awesome. But as you all know, size matters. The size of your team matters, right? And I know diamonds that have $1 million in volume in their group, and I know diamonds that have 100,000 in volume in their group. And so obviously the diamond with $1 million is going to be earning a lot more, right? And so I appreciate this very much because expectations matter. We need to set the right expectation. And so I would rather that a person shooting for diamond for the first time is aware that their income when they're new to the rank is going to be lower than the average, right? Because their team is still younger, their team is still smaller. And so they will build up to that average. And those are averages. What does that mean? That means there's a lot of people making more than that, right? Look at presidential. Presidential, 108,000 a month on average. That means there's a lot of people making a lot more than that, right? And so I do appreciate those slides, and we can get those out. Those are based on 2018's numbers. I have seen 2019's numbers. The change was so minimal that it's almost not worth updating the slides. It's like a few $100 plus or minus in either direction. And so it's fairly minimal. It's just not even, they'll probably update it anyway, but they haven't yet. So anyway, let's go. That's the whole ball of wax, by the way. That's everything. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and let's talk. What comments you have, questions you have? Oh, we got lots of questions in the box. Let's see what we got over here. Yes, Jody, you're correct. Jody's comment is the empowerment bonus, the leadership performance pools for a diamond and blue are pretty solid, pretty stable in the amounts that they are each month. That's true. But presidential can vary quite a bit. And you're totally right. And it's just because there's a little more fluctuation in who's qualifying as presidential that month and who's not. So it will over time also stabilize. The amount will have less fluctuation in it as there's more and more presidentials getting in the pool. What I love about how it's set up is for more presidentials or diamonds or whatever the rank is, for more of them to get into the pool has to grow. just by default. And so it does create that kind of stability that you were just talking about. So very, very good observation. What else, guys? You can unmute yourself if you want to chat. I am happy to chat with you over anything you would like to chat about in the doTERRA world.
Hey, Justin.
Hey.
Just a question. A couple of people have been asking in the chat, and the emphasis on uni level at the higher ranks is great in terms of how much that can contribute to income. But the question that's being raised is, can it be emphasised that once people hit silver in the legs below you, then that uni level payment is going to be way lower. So if people have got qualifying individuals who are down on their 5th, 6th, 10th, 55th level, it's going to make a huge difference to their income. Plus all of their elites are not getting paid anything anyway, so people drop out.
Yes. Yeah, it can, depending on the structure of the team, that can happen. Excuse me. So it is a good thing, especially as you see groups developing and maturing, to have that conversation. And have the conversation is that you have to look at the longer term vision and the stability of your business, because yes, this actually happened to Lil as well. Not to pick on Lil this whole time. She's not here. Don't tell her. But she had this very thing happen in her organization as well, the same one I was talking about. And it was with her own daughter, actually. No, not her daughter, her son. Her son, for a long time, didn't jump into the business. And then when he did, and he eventually one day became a silver, it decreased Lil's depth in payout, right? Because he was now qualifying for that 7% that she had been getting for quite some time. And so he picked that up instead of her and had a doubling of his income, right? Which at that moment was painful for Lil, but in the long term, it has saved his business, his family, and it is her son. Of course, she's not going to be upset with that, right? Because it's her son. But what it has created is a great leadership and great stability in that team. So you have to have the longer term picture there, and just realize that, yeah, it might sting at first if someone pops to that higher rank and starts to collect that 7%. For most of us, in my case, all of my frontline leaders are already, blue diamonds and above. And so I don't have a deep straight down leg with few silvers and then, someone developing down deep for that to happen, but it can happen. I don't think it's a common thing. I don't see it a lot, but it's definitely a possibility.
I think the reason why that question's come up is because there are a lot of people who were taught to build deep in Australia, so their personal enrolments have gone down on their 9th or 10th levels. So when they've built that personal enrolment to be their qualifier, so there's a lot of people on the call who are actually in that position, which is, I think, why it was requested for you to come in and do a little bit more of that in terms of how we teach people not to set up and put their personally enrolled people deep down in order to get that extra uni level.
Yes,
to work with the power of 3
this reminds me of a conversation. Probably many of you know Elise Chedevy and Patrick Chedevy. I love them dearly. Some of you were in their team. They're amazing leaders. We were having a conversation a few years ago. Excuse me. Water time. Patrick is really big into technology and numbers, and the question that he had was, what is the difference? What would be the difference in his commissions if he had a leader develop, if someone developed to the rank of blue diamond, was the level that he chose, if that person as a blue diamond was on their front level versus their third level versus their fifth level, what would be the impact to them, on their commission check? Same volume, same structure, same everything, just change the placement and depth in their group. And he built a spreadsheet for that and did all the numbers and all that crazy stuff. But his outcome was really profound. And in moving that blue diamond from his front level to his third level, his earnings on that blue diamond group dropped in half. And my friends, that's all I need to see, right? Excuse me. That's all I need to see. In keeping, you want to, and Elise teaches this, his wife Elise, that we're looking for people that are committed and that are capable. She calls them CCs, right? That committed and capable. Committed meaning they're all in. Committed meaning they're going to do this. Capable meaning they have done it. How do you know that they're committed and capable? Not based on what they say, because everybody talks big and some do it and some do nothing. But we know they're committed and capable because they actually did something in their first couple days, couple weeks. They actually engaged without you, right? You didn't have to hold their hand. They did it on their own. And then you've got a CC, right? So those people go frontline, right? Those people go frontline. And if you have someone that is just committed or capable, but not both, they're a great second level. And those that just want to be consumers or customers, they go in the third level on down, right? That's her rule of thumb for structuring. There's always going to be exceptions, of course. That is probably the biggest challenge in our whole doTERRA business is structuring. I mean, check this out. How many of you, by the raise of hands, and most of us can see each other, there's like 4 pages of us on here. I realize some of you are just on the phone. You can still raise your hand if you want. By raise of hands, have made a placement in your team that you wish you could go back and change. Wow, look at that, every single hand. Some of us should have like both hands and our feet up in the air and everything, right? Because we've got, or let's see, how many of them, right? We have so many. And the challenge is that we don't know, we don't have a doTERRA crystal ball that we could look into and know what this person's going to do and what they're going to become. The best we can do is judge based on what actions they take in that 14-day window that we have, that doTERRA has given us so graciously to be able to decide where to place someone in our team, right? Realizing that most companies don't even allow a 14-day move. You have to place them where you want them at the time of enrollment, and that's it. And there's no changing. And so that's a huge blessing to us to even have that 2-week window. So yeah, we look for the committed and capable, keep them as close as possible long-term. It's a much better result for all of us and for you, right? Anyone else?
I'll speak if I can. Hi, Justin. Thank you very much for that. Was really informative. I do attend John Overbeek's trainings fairly regularly.
Oh, you lucky.
I have a pretty good handle on all of that. So it was good to have it reinforced. But I think the hardest part is actually placement strategy. Because you can know all that, but still when you get a new person, where do you put them? When you don't know in that first 14 days what they're going to do. And I find it, I see it more in my team when I look at how they're building, when my leaders are building. They've certainly moved over to the building for Power of 3. So they're ending up with front lines that are really, really big because they're enrolling everyone as a wholesale customer and putting them on their front line, and then trying to encourage them to do LRPs. And when they're not, they keep putting new people in, they keep putting new people in. So they're not building depth. So I've gone back to them and said, look, we need to restructure. But what sort of guidelines can you give around placement of people, please?
So customers are third level and deeper.
But most people are a customer. 99.9% of customers are people who join.
When someone is first getting started, right, they have no one to put those people under. And so they will have to keep them frontline until they have some people upgrade to a wellness advocate or enroll as wellness advocates. But once they have, a few legs started, or even one, right? Someone that a customer to me, it saddens me, and I see this all the time. My sister-in-law, actually. My sister-in-law has probably 15 customers on her front level, and I'm not sure how that happened because she's well taught, but nonetheless, it still happened. And excuse me, it's a waste, right? It's a waste of volume.
Yeah, because the volume can't then be counted in any of her other legs.
Right. I mean, yeah, she's got a great front line and plenty of volume for her power 3, but it's not useful in qualification of any legs. And so,
yeah. But
so
sometimes
if
you don't have
possible,
anybody. You don't have anybody. Sometimes who's put their hand up to be interested
Yeah.
in building. So do you get them to upgrade to a wholesale, wellness advocate, so you can start placing under them? That's a huge gamble.
I would, but I would try and make it as authentic and as educated of a guess as possible. That those people will either want to help out and engage, at least on some level, or maybe they'll serve as a placeholder for later and be willing to allow someone else to take over their position as a builder at some future time. That's also an option.
Yeah, yeah. So it's your best guess based on talking to people, but your advice would be not to just keep building, putting wholesale customers on front lines.
No.
You do that for a little bit and then you start.
Yeah, find some people in that front line that will be willing to upgrade, and let's start building, filling in the power of 3, filling in depth for rank.
Yeah, even if you're doing it for them initially by putting your enrollments there, just to get the light bulb to go on.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And you're very fortunate to attend John's class.
I know.
John is one of
First time it made my head spin, and I went, what? I went back the second time and went, okay, I can see through the fog now. Third time, got it.
Yeah, it does take multiple exposures. Those of you that know Peggy Smith, one of our newest presidential diamonds, and she's been with us for a long time, and she's amazing and has great energy. But I remember a conversation with her early on that she did not even look at our compensation plan. She didn't understand it. She couldn't explain it. Her check was over $10,000 a month before she actually came into the office and sat down and said, "Teach me how this works." And most of us are like, our brains are melting, right? Because we're like, I would have been studying this thing at like the $300 level, you know, or the $100 level. And she gets all the way to 10,000 and has no clue, zero clue what's going on and how it works. And it's like, okay, well, there you go, you know, but it does take, for most people, it takes multiple exposures. I don't know if you guys have a comp plan video there in Australia, New Zealand yet that highlights, maybe you do. There's oh, Melanie's shaking her head no. They're not yet. Okay. They're coming. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. They're coming. We're only 12 years old. It's about time we have some of that stuff, right? So just stay tuned. For now, if any of you would like, I have a video recording. It's not this exact presentation that we just did. It doesn't have the examples from dynamic compression. It doesn't have the comparison of power of 3 to unilevel, but it does go through each step of the compensation plan in pretty good detail. And that is available at justinswebinars.com. It's a free site. It's just where I park webinars that I've recorded in the past, and they're just there and available for anyone that would like to see them. justinswebinars.com is the site. And some of you were on Education Week last month. I don't know if it was any of you on this call, but last month we did 6 days of product training that we did every single morning here. So evening for you guys, or no, what is it? Morning here is evening for you, right? Yeah. So we're going to do that again next week, by the way, just to give you a heads up. So at 9 a.m. our time, I'm not sure what that is for you. What is that? The middle of the night? Maybe. So we're going to do those again next week, Monday through Saturday, and they'll be short, sweet, 20 to 30 minutes each, focused on different products. Now, the whole reason I'm doing them, let me just be very candid. The whole reason I'm doing these is not to razzle and dazzle people with how amazing these products are. The whole reason I'm doing this is to give people the opportunity to share their stories. That's the whole reason. Because I want others to hear those stories, because we learn best from experiences shared by other people. And so that will be the whole purpose of the calls, of the webinars next week. So they will be recorded and also posted on that same website, on justinswebinars.com. And so if the schedule doesn't work, which it may not for you all, then you can still register. In fact, I would still register for the live ones, and then the system will actually generate an email and send you an email with a link to the recording. Okay, and so you can watch it at any time during that week. Okay, and that registration link is at that website as well, justinswebinars.com.
Could I ask you a question about exceptions requests?
Sure.
Just in regards to placement and wholesale customers, I feel that is an area that's really vague, because it's not, well, I don't know if it's not, but I don't have a lot of written explanations of how to explain those to people. What are good exception requests, how you can strategize that with wholesale customers and placements, so that if you are putting them under a placeholder like you suggested before, how can you move those, like what are likely exceptions requests, so that we can, now that there's a bit more restriction on wholesale customer moves, and while I think that was a good idea, how we can best use that move strategy to not get locked in, I suppose, if we do have someone under a placeholder. I'm going to mute myself because I've got a lot of noisy kids too.
Yes, I would be at home with a lot of noisy kids, but I have an office just a few minutes from my house where I can go and hide to do these kind of meetings, because otherwise at home it just doesn't work. And I've even gone and sat in the car or a garage to be able to do these things. So, okay, but as far as your question goes, in Australia, I'm not certain if you all have this in place already, but wholesale customers can upgrade, right? They can upgrade to a wellness advocate, right? Are they required to have an enrollment to do that?
Yes,
no?
We have the point enrollment requirement for wholesale customer upgrades. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we have that too. And it's a relatively new thing. And I knew it was going to be global, but I didn't know if it had made it to you all as of yet. So when it comes to wholesale customer, I have found that the most for sure way to be able to move them is to help them have an enrollment. Outside of that, it's not been worth the fight. just to be frank, I will help them have an enrollment, and then there's no problem or challenge moving them where I want to move them, right? I haven't even, I love that doTERRA allows exceptions, but I think I've done 3 exceptions in 12 years, and I think all of them were denied. So I sometimes refer to those people, and I love them. I know who many of them are. I sometimes refer to them as the no exceptions committee. And I understand why, and I understand that they're there for a purpose, but sometimes how we see things in the field and how they see things at corporate are not the same, right? And so we just have to work with it and try and make the best of it. So, but yeah, with wholesale customers, let's help them enroll somebody, friend, sister, brother, whoever. And then it's a slam dunk, right? No problem. Move them where you need to move them. I do enroll everyone, just so you all know. I enroll everyone as a wholesale customer to begin with, unless they show interest right away in the business. For that very reason, I want to have that flexibility to be able to relocate them if I need to at some later point. And I won't have that if they're enrolled immediately as a wellness advocate. right? So I start everyone as a customer. Plus, it's much more comfortable for them. There's no tax ID numbers required. You know, when I go to any store in the world to shop, I don't have to generally give my tax ID number to be able to buy, right? I can just go in and be a customer. And so people are comfortable with that. They're familiar with that. And we'll talk upgrade later when they're ready.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Justin. We're very
Melanie.
mindful of the fact that you're now entering into your 9th or even your 10th hour of Zoom time with people.
It's all right. I'm loving Zoom now. I'm thinking Zoom might have been responsible for this whole coronavirus. I think it was a great business scheme.
A very good conspiracy theory there for sure.
That's right.
But we are so grateful that you've been able to share this time with us, and to be so generous to also share some of your tools and recordings as well. I know I can see all the comments and the facial reactions of this group. Everyone's very excited and very grateful.
Oh, I see so many dear friends here, and I can't wait. You know, when this is all over, I can't wait to come and see you all. It's long overdue. I have so many great memories with so many of you. Robin, I will never ride in a car with you for as long as I live, because I've done that once and I'll never do it again. That is for certain. I love you, but just not behind the wheel, honey, not behind the wheel.
I know, you missed your plane. I'm so sorry. I've never forgotten. The tree was over the signage to the airport and I missed it. Sorry, Justin.
It wasn't that I missed the flight, Robin. That was not it at all. And John, you're one of the best huggers on the planet Earth. And I look forward to that big, manly bear hug each and every time I see you. Miss you guys.
Well, thank you, Justin. We look forward to being able to host you in Australia and New Zealand, hopefully soon when we get through all of this. But thank you once again. We so appreciate it. And thank you to everybody for joining the call. Appreciate you taking the time out of your days. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Thursday.
Yes, have a great day, everybody. Love you.
Justin.
Thank you.